1510, the first firearm made it to Japan. It was a piece of crap. It was a hollow tube with basically a spot to stick a match in there. It blew up in your hand half the time. It was Chinese made. And then in 1543, Portuguese Jesuit missionaries showed up. They were working in the Philippines and stuff like that and thought, is there anything to the east? You know, the Portuguese trade a little bit with these, you know, Japanese people. Let's go there. They got lost and shipwrecked on Tanegashima Island. You see a lot Japanese guns called Tanegashima because that's where they first started. That's where they first started branching out through the rest of Japan. They brought much higher quality guns. They were still matchlock arquebuses. If it rained, you couldn't shoot anybody. Single shot, relatively inadequate as far as gun warfare goes. But as the years progressed, the Japanese were very good at reverse engineering things. They took these Portuguese weapons and they said, I can make this. Took it apart, remade it, and we get things like Oda Nobunaga's gun factory in Kunitomo, which part of the reason why he was able to advance so far in his time was that he just had more guns than everybody else. When everybody's using a sword and a spear, the guy with the gun at 500 paces wins. Even if at 500 paces that thing can be 3 feet off. You shoot it at him and he goes, well, that was loud, I'm done. One less guy in the field, even if he survived. As I mentioned, Oda Nobunaga with his factory in Kunimoto. Sorry, I said Kunitomo. I told you I'd do that. Eventually had cannon and all that too. Big problem with cannon was there were restrictions on how big of a wheel you could have in Japan. So cannons were fairly small sized compared to in Europe. Oda Nobunaga was known for creating the cyclical firing style. He would line his riflemen up, one in front, you know, down on their knees, they would fire, and then they would stand up and step to the back of the line to start reloading. Another line would step up, shoot, and they would step to the back. This was nothing major in Europe at the time. Europe had been doing this for years with their firearms, but Nobunaga was the first one to think in Japan, hey, why don't we start doing this? Honestly, whenever Nobunaga first started, a lot of people, a lot of forces had maybe 6 guns to them. Nobunaga was able to produce 6 guns a week, maybe. Like I said, it's one reason he was able to get so far. This is Japan. The top island, Hokkaido, at this point in time is still largely what they at the time called barbarians. They're actually natives. The Ainu people and tribes like that. The main island of Honshu, to get an idea, in this region in here we have Tokyo, which at that time was called Edo. The middle island of Shikoku, and the lower island of Kyushu. If everybody's seen anything with Okinawan karate, a little bit south on the map you have Okinawa, which at this time is vaguely considered a property of Japan, but it'll be in later years that the Shimazu clan of Kyushu will take them over. There's roughly a lot of names that we'll go over through here, where they are roughly. Hojo of the Kanto region, Takada and Sanada, Magawa and Tokugawa in the south. Oda, that I mentioned a few times, the rightmost arrow is where he started. The leftmost arrow for him is the capital at that time, which wasn't Tokyo, or Edo, like I said. It was actually Kyoto. That was the imperial capital. As a matter of fact, even now, that's still where the emperor resides for the most part in Japan, is Kyoto. As I mentioned, the Ainu barbarians, Dante. For most of the rest of the panel, now that we breezed through all the background, we're going to talk about, if anybody's familiar with the term gaiden in Japanese, it's like an anecdote, a side story. It's going to deal a lot for the rest of the panel in stories of the particular people of the era. One is, if anybody's played Sengoku Basara or Devil Kings, whenever it first came to the US, I think Kasuga's name was Venus in the original one. I don't remember. It wasn't that good of a game. In Sengoku Basara, she's Kunoichi, a female ninja who serves she's loosely based off of Ukifune Kampachi. He was a dwarf ninja. Of course, the story isn't true, but the folktale goes that he was able to sneak into Wasugi Kenshin's toilet, and he sat there, neck-high muck for 3 days until Wasugi had to come in and use the restroom. And then he used either a sword or an extendable spear, depending on which folktale you hear, to stab him to death, and then climbed out and escaped successfully. Really, Wasugi Kenshin was an alcoholic and died of liver failure, organ failure, something to that effect. But it's an awesome story to pass around after your enemy dies, and it's like, oh, you know what? It was my ninja that killed him in the toilet. Like I said, the rest of the hour we're going to deal with people of the era. Because, for you folks, I've got the insider scoop.
Okay.
Go ahead and give me the next slide. We'll start with Saito. On the left here, yes, right here left. Left here we have Saito the Viper Dosan. I mentioned Oda Nobunaga. He was actually Nobunaga's, an enemy of Nobunaga's father, Nobuhide. They had a little bit of a war and then decided, you know what, we're both relatively the same strength and we're surrounded by people who want to kill us. Maybe we shouldn't fight each other. Now, Dosan started out as a merchant, which means that he was lower in social caste than the samurai around him. But he made a fortune as an oil merchant. And so, with a lot of money, he said, hey, maybe I can buy myself a samurai title, which he basically did. He was a conniving, scheming man. His first lord, he said, look, I'm your friend, I'm a loyal servant, I'll even take your name, become part of your family. And then he murdered off the rest of the family and said, hey, I'm the only one left of the family, I guess this land is mine.
That's crazy.
And then that guy's lord, the actual daimyo land, he was like, look, now I've got all this land, you want to keep it in your clan, right? Hey, I'll even take your name. And we know what happened next. Killed all the rest of the family and took that one over. So now he's a Saito. And owns the old Saito lands. Hey, perfect. He also, younger days, caused some ruckus, and the local daimyo said, look, my favorite concubine, my favorite mistress, I'll give her to you to marry as a wife. You're unmarried if you'll just stop trying to raise rebellions. And he was like, alright, she's cute, I'll do it. But she had a child like 6 months later. Anybody take sex ed and know how long it takes for a human baby to be made? It's not 6 months. So his eldest son is now of ambiguous descent. Is he Dosan's or is he the old lord's? Regardless, Dosan said, no, he's mine. Until Dosan is now, ending his war with the Oda clan, he talks to Nobunaga's father and he's like, look, I got a daughter, you got a son, let's get them married. Maybe I'll even take your name! So, Nobunaga and Lady Nohime, Kicho, various names for her, get married. It's even theorized that she was supposed to assassinate Nobunaga so that the Oda clan would be weaker and Saito could take it over. Like I said, the conniving man. However, Dosan got a little comeuppance. He decided, well, you know what? I'm in my 50s now. I'm probably going to be dying in the next 20 years, if not sooner. Not real sure my eldest son is actually mine. I'm going to name my middle son, my second son, actually I had like 7, but I'm going to name my second son as heir. And the oldest son was like, no. See, I got your name. If I kill all my brothers, it's mine. So he killed off all his brothers and started, gathered his own army. They met on Yeah, like son, like father. Father, like son, however the saying goes. They met on opposite sides of the river, and the son's forces came, but Dosan's forces held strong. They were able to repel them. Until Dosan kind of picked up the look, and he's like, all right, how are things going? And the guy beside him said, oh, I work for your son. The chaos of battle, Dosan is struck down. Well, now his army says, hey, nothing to fight for. Might as well join the other guy with his name. So now the alliance is broken. And that's the first, one of the first stages of Nobunaga's advance is going north against the Saito. Because Dosan favored him, now we have to remove anything that Dad liked because I don't like him. And so the Saito advanced south. And that was the end of the Viper, Saito Dosan, the oil merchant who bought his way into samuraihood.